But we do start with breaking news. Premier League and Championship clubs will be allowed to introduce licensed safe standing areas at stadiums from the start of the coming season. Brentford, Queen's Park Rangers and Wolves have confirmed they'll bring in the areas. 5 clubs operated licensed standing from January as a trial measure, with Chelsea hosting the first game. Cardiff, Manchester City, Manchester United and Tottenham were the other early adopters. Wembley will also have a small standing area for domestic matches. Well, let's head live to Wembley and speak to our senior reporter, Geraint Hughes. Afternoon to you, Geraint. I guess the big question feels like, is this going to be safe?
Yeah, I think that is the one crucial word that everyone involved, and the everyone in this instance is the government. It was part of their manifesto and a work that the Sports Minister, Nigel Huddleston, wanted to get over the line, also in conjunction with the Sports Grounds Safety Authority, again that word safety, and also in conjunction with fan supporters groups who've been saying for some time they would like to be able to stand up in certain areas. But I think not necessarily the resistance, but the caution and the reason why this has been a work in progress for some time was to make sure it is as safe as possible. Let's not beat around the bush here. People's minds go back to the tragic events in 1989 at Hillsborough when so many people lost their lives, their Liverpool fans lost their lives. Football has to be safe. All-seater stadium became a prerequisite then in 1994 after the Taylor report there for all clubs in the top 2 flights in English football there. So that is the way it's been ever since. Since January the 1st this year, there has been a licence for 5 clubs to trial what was called an early adopter scheme of safe standing areas. They've looked at what happened at those 5 grounds. They've crunched the data, the analytics, spoken to supporters groups, spoken to the police, gone through everything, and the feeling is now that they can move forward with this project and widen it now to all clubs in the Premier League and the Championship, as well as those clubs who have previously been in either the Premier League or the Championship for 3 years. They may not be in those leagues right now, but they've had experience of being an all-seater stadium. So it's somewhat around 63 clubs that will be eligible to do this. There's no pressure or time frame on anyone to do this. They have to apply for a licence if they want to, but so far it's going to be 8 clubs plus here at Wembley Stadium. This is what the Sports Minister, Nigel Huddleston, said about today's announcement.
It is a really big day. It was never a done deal. We did promise it in a manifesto, as long as it was safe. And of course, what we've been doing over the last few weeks and months is working with those clubs that have done the trials to make sure that it is safe. And that was always the criteria. We wanted to implement safe standing. And we're really, really pleased that we can expand it now to Premiership and Championship, because the trials worked well. They were popular. They were went down really well with fans. But actually, as well, I mean, you can see behind us, these are pretty rigorous safe standing with the barriers in front and behind the seats. It is safe, and therefore we are confident about moving forward with it.
Geraint, you're at Wembley this afternoon, and as we mentioned, there will also be a safe standing area there for domestic games. Is that any way a risk, given the behaviour we saw at last summer's Euros final?
Rob, I'm going to use the word a concern because it had to be taken into a factor here, is the events that happened here, just under a year ago for the Euro final here, 2020, obviously delayed until 2021. Those scenes of bad crowd behaviour there, and an area that they're trying to make safe, inclusive of fans who want to stand, and then also get that balance right with people that don't want to, and get the family areas right. Why was Wembley even considered, considering they're still digesting some of the events and learning the mistakes and the learnings from that Euro final of last year? However, speaking to the Sports Ground Safety Authority, the man who's kind of been on a mission to get this right, to trial things, to get this right, he's gone through with the 8 club grounds that are going to do this, but it's belief of a man called Ken Scott that Wembley, the national stadium, yes, it does host international games, who won't be allowed to have a licence for this because they come under UEFA and FIFA, but for domestic matches here, safe standing areas, in his belief, they are perfectly fine to be held here at Wembley Stadium.
The rise in antisocial behaviour, crime and disorder is unconnected with what we're doing here today, which is about protecting fans who are persistently standing inside sports grounds. Yes, what we saw on that July afternoon in 2021 was appalling, and we hope we never see it again. But we're working separately with the authorities, with the FA, with the Premier League and the EFL, to manage to put together what we're calling a hard reset on fan behaviour. But the two things are completely unconnected, and the research actually bears that out, that the introduction of the rail is completely neutral in the behaviour of the fan. So it wouldn't turn a good fan bad, nor would it work in the reverse.
So just to give you an idea of kind of, I suppose, what a number of supporters want to know is kind of what areas of my club stadium may have safe standing areas in it. Well, each club is going to be individual. For example, I've been at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium earlier today to look at what they've done with a safe standing area. What the capacity there is just over 61,000, 10,500 seats there have safe standing areas. Inside Wembley here, it's going to be a much smaller number of 2,000 spaces, seats, effectively 1,000 behind each goal at each end. It's going to be a small amount there. And in terms of what safe standing means is you still get a seat. The licenses is to allow people to stand up if they need it, and the safety protection of having a barrier, a rail in front of them they can lean on to stop either people falling backwards or forwards. But it gives the option, say, before a game, half-time, or after a game, or during a game where there's nothing particularly much going on. They have an option of taking a seat as well. That is the sort of the project that's being rolled out at most grounds. It's 8 stadiums so far, plus Wembley Stadium. The expectation is that now this has been given the green light by the government, many other clubs throughout the Premier League and the Championship will be applying for licences via this government scheme.